There are many countries who were once overflowing with wealth, power, and influence. Let's dive into the rise and fall of these countries that used to be rich but aren't anymore. Let's kick things off with Venezuela. In the mid-20th century, this South American country was rolling in oil wealth. With the largest proven oil reserves in the world, Venezuela was once called the Saudi Arabia of Latin America. Back then, Venezuelans could buy a new car with just a few months' salary. Now, that same salary might not even cover basic groceries for a week. But today, Venezuela is synonymous with hyperinflation, food shortages, and political turmoil. So what went wrong? It all comes down to mismanagement, mainly because of this man. After attempting a coup d'etat in 1992 and being pardoned by President Caldera, Hugo Chavez was elected president. Instead of diversifying its economy, Venezuela relied almost entirely on oil. When oil prices plummeted in the 2010s, the country's fragile system collapsed. Add in corruption and authoritarianism, and you've got a recipe for disaster. Today, millions of Venezuelans have fled the country in search of better opportunities, leaving behind a nation grappling with one of the worst economic crises in modern history. Next up, Iraq. Thousands of years ago, this region was the birthplace of civilization, the land of Mesopotamia. Did you know that ancient Mesopotamians invented the concept of time as we know it? The 60-minute hour and 24-hour day were their brainchild. Fast forward to the mid-20th century, and Iraq was rich again, thanks to its abundant oil reserves. It all started to go down during the Gulf War in 1991. Iraq decides to invade Kuwait because of an ongoing dispute between the two countries, mainly because of oil. So as always, the US got involved, expelling the Iraqi troops. The UN started to resent Iraq because of this, and the US ultimately invaded Iraq in 2003 because of concerns of weapons of mass destruction. Even though there were no links found, these wars, sanctions, and instability drained Iraq's wealth and turned this once rich nation into a shadow of its former self. Iraq still has oil, but constant conflict has made it impossible to fully recover, and you've got a country struggling to regain its footing. Greece, the birthplace of democracy, philosophy, and some of the richest ancient culture in the world. Did you know that ancient Greeks used a mechanism called the Antikythera, essentially the world's first analog computer, to predict astronomical events? This groundbreaking device was centuries ahead of its time. Ancient Greece fell due to its conquest by the Roman Republic. But what about modern Greece? Even though Greece has some amazing vacation destinations like Mykonos and Santorini, let's just say it's had a rough time economically. After joining the Eurozone, Greece borrowed heavily to fuel its economy. But when the 2008 global financial crisis hit, the debt became unsustainable and they couldn't pay the money back. The country was forced into harsh measures, meaning living with few luxuries, reduced government spending, and leaving its economy in shambles. Today, many young Greeks face high unemployment rates, with entire generations burdened by the country's financial missteps. Next up, Iran. Iran's story is one of highs and lows. Once the center of the mighty Persian Empire, Iran remained wealthy in modern times due to oil. Did you know that ancient Persia was so advanced that they developed one of the first postal systems in history, known as the Angarium, which inspired communication systems around the world? The 1979 revolution changed everything. The revolution led to the replacement of the imperial state of Iran by the present-day Islamic Republic of Iran, as the monarchical government of Mohammad Reza Pahlavi was superseded by the theocratic Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, a religious cleric who had headed one of the rebel factions. Under his rule, Iranian women were denied equal rights and required to wear a veil. Western culture was banned, and an extremist version of the religion was practiced, which most Muslims around the world are against. This strained relations with the West and suffocated Iran's economy, despite its vast natural resources. Today, the country is grappling with inflation and a restless younger population demanding change. Sailing over to India. Now, India is pretty wealthy today, but did you know that India was once the richest country in the world? Its share of global GDP was over 25%. Yeah, they literally owned a quarter of the world's wealth. The Mughal Empire thrived on trade, textiles, and agriculture. They were most known for their jewels and spices, which everyone wanted. So then, here come the British, who gradually took control of Indian territories through military conquests and political maneuvering. The British came in 1757 and left in 1947 when India won their independence. Colonial exploitation drained India's wealth. Some estimates claim that Britain drained nearly 45 trillion from India during their colonial period. During British rule, India's share of global GDP fell from 25% to less than 4%. That's how much wealth was extracted from the country. and it's taken decades to rebuild. While India is on the rise today, its colonial past left deep scars. Today, India is reclaiming its place on the global stage, but the journey has been anything but easy. Ethiopia is the next country on our list. Their story begins with the Aksumite Empire, one of the wealthiest ancient kingdoms in Africa. It thrived on trade routes connecting Africa, Arabia, and the Mediterranean. The Aksumites were among the first civilizations to mint their own coins, symbolizing a sophisticated economy that traded gold, ivory, and spices with the Roman Empire. The Ethiopian Empire lasted from roughly 1270 until 1974. It fell when a military coup overthrew Emperor Haile Selassie. The coup was carried out by the Derg, a Soviet-backed military junta. The Derg established a Marxist-Leninist state in Ethiopia. The Derg ruled Ethiopia until 1987, when it was replaced by another communist regime. That regime was toppled in 1991. Ethiopia has since been a democratic republic. Ethiopia's modern history has been marked by challenges. Colonial attempts, internal conflicts, and devastating famines eroded its wealth. Today, Ethiopia is rebuilding, but still faces many obstacles. Now Cambodia, who was home to the Khmer Empire, also known as Cambodia, they once ruled Southeast Asia, with the city Angkor Wat as a symbol of its wealth and power. At its peak, Angkor was the largest pre-industrial city in the world, with a complex water management system that could rival modern engineering. But the empire ended up falling in 1431, and it was started by a period of strong monsoon rains that was followed by a severe drought in the region, which caused damage to the empire's hydraulic infrastructure. The empire was put to bed via military defeat and religious conversion to Buddhism. Fast forward to 1975, the Khmer Rouge, who were the Communist Party of Cambodia, decimated the country, killing millions and leaving its economy in ruins. Cambodia is recovering, but still struggles with poverty. Moving on to Turkey. Turkey was the heart of the Ottoman Empire, one of the richest and most powerful empires in history. Here's a fact that will blow your mind. At its peak, the Ottoman Empire controlled over 3 million square miles of land, spanning 3 continents, making it one of the largest empires in history. The empire was multi-ethnic and multi-religious, and was ruled by sultans who claimed to be the successors to Islam's Prophet Muhammad. The empire's strategic location allowed it to control crucial trade routes between Europe and Asia, facilitating a massive flow of goods and generating significant revenue from taxes on commerce. But empires don't last forever. It collapsed after World War I. This was due to its inability to keep up with technological advancements in Europe. A diverse population with various ethnic and religious groups fueling nationalist movements, and poor financial management. After its collapse, Turkey struggled to modernize. While it's made progress, Turkey still faces economic challenges today. Which of these countries surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. And if you want to explore more about the rise and fall of nations, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.